Welcome back to the channel. This is the Action Figure Grader, and it's Thursday. It's time for another vintage collection market update. I snuck in one on Sunday after I got back from my trip, but time to get back on our regular schedule. And I'm not talking about in the bathroom. I'm talking about my Thursday vintage collection market update. And I wanted to start off with yet another post from Riv's Junctionite. He does a really good job on Instagram discussing projections for Haslab projects, so I always try to cover it whenever there is a Star Wars Haslab project in action. And the consensus seems to be that Greedo is going to be pretty easily achievable. But what about Neighborin Leeds? I'm sure I'm mangling his name. Of the three on this screen here, this one is the best. I absolutely love that figure. That is just an awesome looking figure. And then, of course, the last one, Wolfman. I call him Lack Zivrak, just from the Power of the Force 2 line, but Wolfman, whatever his name is, for the vintage collection. It seems like the consensus is that getting to 17,000 backers is going to be very difficult. But will it hit 14,000 for Neighborin Leeds? And here is an interesting post from Riv's Junctionite. Again, this is on Instagram. I always want to give credit where credit is due, so go follow Riv's Junctionite on Instagram. But it kind of shows you the last 7 days of the Haslab projects: the Ghost, the Razor Crest, the Giant Man, which is non-Star Wars, but had a huge jump at the end, and it was a lot less expensive. So I think that's probably why he kind of discounts the Giant Man Haslab. And then you had, obviously, the Barge. The Barge was just a slow and steady upstream there. But the big jumps were for the Ghost and the Razor Crest. And so you tend to think that, especially after it gets to the 8,000 backers, which is kind of the base level to know it's going to get funded, you would think that once that happens, we could see a huge jump. And let's see what he had to say here. Always in motion is the future. With the campaign we've had so far and the strong doldrum days. The doldrum days just mean kind of the in-betweener days where there's 50 or 100, 150 or so backers being added. The doldrum days, it's been solidly ahead of the Ghost, as we talked about on the Sunday Vintage Collection market update. In my opinion, the Cantina is a done deal, and so is Greedo. In my last post, I was skeptical that we would get Neighborin, and several folks have pointed out, beginning with the Far Side of Endor. That's John Miko, who runs the Facebook Vintage Collection group and also has his own YouTube channel. I'm sure that if you collect the Vintage Collection, you know John Miko very well. But he said that, there's bound to be a surge after the Cantina hits 8,000 and is fully backed. And that's undoubtedly true. But to figure out how much that surge is, we'd have to factor in things like price, popularity, and the shortened campaign, all of which are really hard to account for. So that's a really interesting point there. Here I'm looking at the cumulative percent backers in the last days of the 4 campaigns: 3 Star Wars and then the Giant Man, Marvel Legends. You'll notice that they all start around half the final backers they'll get, but there's a bit of variation. The Giant Man started with 43% of its total backers, and the Barge had 46% of its total backers. The Ghost and Razor Crest had 55% of their total backers. What could that mean for the Cantina? If it plays out like the Ghost with no major surge after fully backing, you're looking at around 11,800 backers, which would be bad, obviously, since you wouldn't hit Neighborin. That's the worst case scenario and unlikely, in his opinion. If it plays out as big as Giant Man, you could get as many as 15,000 backers. So Neighborin is not lost, not yet. I hope whatever happens that it's decisive. Either we fall far short of Neighborin or we hit 14,000, because 19,950 is just too frustrating to think about. So we'll see what happens. I hope that you guys that are backing it and are excited about the Cantina are able to get that figure, because in my opinion, as I said, I think that one's the coolest one. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at some other Vintage Collection sales. And we're going to start off with 2 Cantina patrons, Bom Bimden and Dr. Evison. I think you'll start to see more multi-packs or multi-listings, lot listings like this. And this was from South Beach Toys, who watches the channel. Shout out to them. I bought from them. And they sold both of these in a buy it now for $99.99 free shipping. So I think you'll start seeing a lot more of those, and it does seem like Dr. Evison is jumping. I've seen a few prices that as high as like $76 for him. So the demand is real to fill out your Cantina display. So here is the Rebel Commander. This was a Revenge of the Jedi unpunched US card. That one sold for $102.50. And this one obviously is the one that was in the SDCC Death Star box set. It's offerless Revenge of the Jedi. And then here's another one that was unpunched. More on that in a second. But this is the retail release Revenge of the Jedi with the prototype Boba Fett offer and obviously the paperwork inside. But I question whether this was really an unpunched. It looked a little questionable there. And then when you look on the back, it looks like, I mean, again, I'm just speculating. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. But does it look to you like that punch was added back in? And maybe I'm wrong. So if you happen to be the one that bought that, let us know. It could just be debris or scuffing or dust. Who knows? But that unpunched example looks a little suspect relative to this one, which was super clean. You can see how clean that one is. There's no kind of indentation from where it could have, that hang tab could have potentially been pushed back in. But that one sold for $115, and again, that was the retail release. And this one was the SDCC one and sold for $102.50 in an auction versus buy it now. But this is obviously the more desirable of the two since it's an offerless Revenge of the Jedi from the SDCC box set. Aura Singh, unpunched US card. That one sold in an auction on 20 bids for $82. Pretty good deal there. Really wide blister on that. It's crazy how wide that blister is. Oddballs, another one that's kind of come back down to earth a little bit. This one had the Darth Maul offer, the US card unpunched. $87. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. This was going for consistently for $100 to $125. And this one was a pretty clean example, just late edgeware. So $87. That one's definitely come back to earth. We just talked about in the last Vintage Collection Market Update an unpunched original issue Star Killer that was AFA 8.5 that sold, I think, for $106. This one was ungraded unpunched for $120 plus $6 shipping. So pretty crazy. What a good deal that AFA graded example was. I got some punched examples of the VC-112 Sand Trooper. We talked about two unpunched in the last video that sold for $160 and $177-ish. This one is a punched example with some light edgeware around the hang tab, little crease there. That sold for $105. And then this one was also punched and sold for $110. So unpunched, $160 to $175. Punched, $105 to $110 for the VC-112 Sand Trooper. Lumat, this was another unpunched US card in really good shape. That one consistently stays at $123.50. It's really held its value very well. I also do have a couple of autographs that just sold. First is Mercedes Varnado, who I guess plays Cuska Reeves. That's a really nice card back, by the way. I love that card image. And that one is signed, so that's a really good deal at $140 plus $6 shipping. And I believe the same seller also had Axe Woves, who was played by Salmon Cassianidis. I would assume he is Greek and eats lots of olives and Greek food because he looks Greek and that name is very Greek. That one sold for $180. So a couple of deals there on autographed items. Hopefully some of you that like to collect vintage collection, get it autographed and then have it authenticated by CAS with their signature series. Those are two good candidates that just sold there. I've got some other graded examples before we dig into some big boy items. We've got an AFA 9.0 uncirculated Anakin Skywalker from the Phantom Menace. And that one sold for $90 plus $17 shipping. Not a super desirable character, obviously, but it is a TVC 1.0 uncirculated 9.0. So it's still got the pretty decent price on that. And then here's Cassian Andor. This was a 9.0 on the modern scale. Pretty plain looking figure and plain looking card back, but obviously that series was amazing. They just talked about, there's some rumors coming out that some other actors from Rogue One, the movie, are going to be appearing in Andor Season 2. I would imagine we will see Director Krennic. I hope that we see, Jyn Erso would be another one. I think that a really good, likely character to also reappear is Saul Guerrera. They might have to use de-aging technology for Forrest Whitaker, just given his age. Or I can't remember. In Season 1, they might have done that with a different actor. I cannot remember. My brain is completely fried right now. But that one did sell for $99, but I am excited about Season 2. time to get Disney Plus Star Wars back on track after the disaster that was The Acolyte. I watched the first 2 episodes, and I have not watched any more just based on the feedback I have gotten in the community. And I didn't really like it that much anyway. It was okay. I mean, it was mediocre at best. So it seems like it's gone downhill for The Acolyte since then. But I just hope that Cassian Andor Season 2 is as good as Season 1, because I thought that was a very well-produced miniseries. Next up, Cal Kestis from Jedi Survivor. That was an uncirculated 9.0. That one sold for $120 plus $15 shipping. Not a character I particularly care about, but I thought I would at least touch on it since it's, a recent release and high grade, and it sold for a pretty good price at $120 plus $15. Here is an uncirculated 9.0 prototype. What's that, VC63, 61, I guess? I thought it was VC63. I can never keep the numbers right. But prototype Boba Fett, VC61, uncirculated 9.0. That one sold for $200 plus $17 shipping. Pretty strong price on that one. And, this one and VCPO3 have kind of gone down in price quite a bit. So $200 is a price that's a little higher than what I'm used to here recently. I feel like both of those have come back down to earth in price a lot. Here was VC186 Boba Fett, Return of the Jedi version. This one is the chest dent version, is what they call it. It's really chest sensor. CAS, for some stupid reason, labels it chest dent versus no dent. It's really chest sensor versus no sensor. AFA labels that one correctly. This one was a CAS 95, straight 95s. It was listed for $140. Best offer accepted on that was $120. So really good deal on that one. Here is the Republic Gunship, the Toys R Us exclusive. We all know how expensive this one is. It was not perfect. Obviously, you can see on the box it had some major scuffing to the box. So not perfect condition whatsoever, but it was still factory sealed. And it was listed for $750. The best offer accepted on that one was $600. I found 3 other recent data points for mint in sealed box gunships. We've got $765, $790, and $828. So this one at $600 obviously is a low data point, but given the box condition, I can understand why. But if you're looking for one in clean condition, you're talking $765 to as high as about $825 for a mint in seal box Republic gunship. Next up, this was an interesting sale. This was up in Canada, but it was the Jabba sail barge, and it was still factory sealed in the shipper, and it sold for $3,550 in an auction, and that's plus $325 shipping. So that is a massive number and way bigger than what I'm used to. The shipper box was not in perfect condition, so you're taking a risk that the interior stuff was still in good condition. Wow, what a major number. I am absolutely shocked it sold for that high, but that's on the way up. And will the Ghost, will the Cantina do major appreciation the way the Katana has done? I doubt it, but that is a pretty good investment for somebody at $3,550 in the most recent sale up in Canada. And then finally, I just wanted to show you a custom. I thought this was really cool. It's like a Commander Gree, except he's like a Navy SEAL. So this is labeled as a Gilo Customs, and you can check them out on eBay. I was not requested to do that. I'm not affiliated or sponsored by him or anything like that, but I just loved the way this one looked. This was a vintage collection clone trooper in tactical gear. The weapon, not a great choice. That's like a very modern weapon there, but it's pretty cool to see all the wet gear and like the all of the chest vest, and you got a weapon, a knife off there, as well as a pistol. So I think it looks cool. All right, I'm not saying it's exactly appropriate for Clone Wars era, but I just thought it was a really cool looking custom, and it sold for big money at $110. So somebody else must have liked it as well. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this look at recent sales and a quick talk about the Haslab Cantina. Thank you as always for watching. Thank you to my Patreon supporters, and I'll be back very soon.